I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jackie. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Yeah.
Hi. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I know. Are you feeling better? I think you are feeling better.
Yeah, a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Oh my God.
It was bad. That was a doozy.
I know, it really was a doozy. Doozy's the right word.
I know. I would never use that word either.
No, but this is...
It's the only
accurate.
time to use it.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I know. But I appreciate everything. Everyone's been so kind about it.
That's a small miracle in and of itself.
I know. I feel like it's because everyone's just like dealing with everything and it. And so they're just like, oh, I know, like it's terrible. So, you know, that's that. But I mean, you did some really nice
yes.
spell work for me. So I really appreciate honestly. And they're probably going to be like, okay, they're saying that. But it's true. And I don't care if people believe me or
no, this
they
is
don't.
true.
It's true, yeah. And it's true whether people want to say it's not or whatever. But when you did it, I felt better when you were doing it.
Yes. And you didn't know when I was going to do it. Like, you asked me, you're like...
Yeah.
Which, okay, just a side note. Dumb Witch Club, pause here.
Yeah.
She's sick.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that sucks. And then she's like, I don't have the energy to, like, do a spell or anything to, like, help myself. Like, do you think you could do one for me? And I'm like, of course. Like, I didn't even think about it. I didn't offer, so I felt bad. But not that bad, but I was like, oh, of course. Yeah. So anyways, I was like, yes, no, I definitely will. I was like, let me look up some things. I will put something together, and I will do it.
Yeah.
But that was, like, the end of our conversation.
Yeah.
And it took me, a little while to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't know when you were going to do it.
No, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do it right now, or, like, at 5 p.m. or, like, a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
And you text me, and you were like... Did you just do something? Because I started to feel like this lift and this getting cleared up and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I literally did it 15 minutes ago.
Uh-huh. And then again.
And then it was twice, 2 different times I did it. And it happened both times. Synchronicity.
That proves it right there. That's
all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Just proved it.
That's all we need to say.
Can't write these things. They write themselves.
No, exactly. Very true. So that, I feel like, look, it's not going to cure an infection.
No.
Or actually, you need medical care.
I went to the doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you actually had a specific infection. You needed medicine, all of that. Yeah. But at the time, you felt a bit better at those times.
I did.
For that afternoon or whatever.
Well, and, it gave me the energy to need to have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Clearly, we need to discuss why, though. It gave me the energy to be able to advocate for myself in the ways that I needed to, which one of the things was go see a medical professional.
Exactly, because before that, you were just you couldn't
languishing. Even do it. How are you supposed to do it if you don't, so it helped.
Yes. So help your friends, support your friends. Yes. Offer to do a healing spell for them if you know that they're sick.
Especially when you just did an episode on it.
Especially.
So great.
Anyways, I'm really glad that I helped you. So
you did. On. Yes, moving on. Let's please move on.
Anyways, we have a super packed, exciting episode today.
Yeah, we do. We're gonna hopefully just
Yeah, we're gonna
get it all in.
Gonna get it all there.
Yeah.
So I think first let's start with our card pull.
Oh, yeah,
how about that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going back to our Oracle of Mystical Moments deck.
So pretty.
I love this one. I really do. And I like it also because, the illustrations vary. It's not super seasonal like the Samhain one or the other ones that we've talked about. But all the seasons are very clearly represented in here, and nature's represented really strongly. And so you can kind of get, sort of a seasonal vibe sometimes.
I like that.
I like that too. And I've been using this to do some daily pulls since the new year. Yes, I have.
That's wonderful.
I've been displaying my card in my super beautiful little card display crystal thing that you got. Anyways.
We've been doing so many good little things so far.
We have been. I feel like, obviously still a dumb witch, but a little less dumb of a witch.
I know. Yeah, just tiny shifts.
The smallest amount. Okay, darling.
Okay. Let's go with this one. Well, transformation.
Gosh, can we stop getting transformation messages?
I know. Well, when you make the Scorpio pig.
Maybe that's, no, it's not a problem. No, it's obviously it's so
it's just
apropos.
It is.
This art is, as usual, quite beautiful. It almost looks like, what is that era of art where they do, it's like medieval, where like, it's like that Queen Elizabeth had the way back hairline, like the original Queen Elizabeth, the first, during like Shakespearean.
Yes.
Like Elizabethan, or is it like medieval? I'm not sure. I'm not an art historian.
I probably would be Elizabeth.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's that kind of like way back hairline.
Yeah.
She's got like
beautiful.
a butterfly on her dress. It's like a giant butterfly.
I wish I had a dress like that.
You would look amazing in a dress like that.
Thank you.
I was kind of like, it's a little
It
bit
is a
like
little.
this.
It is. It's reminiscent. How funny.
Strange. And she's very childlike, and she's kind of doing this gesture of like, it's very peaceful.
It is. It is because, like transformation isn't always necessarily like a peaceful process, like
right, exactly. So it kind of is like reminding you that transformation doesn't have to be some violent upheaval. It can just be like a subtle process, which maybe still has pains or like growing pains within it.
Sure.
But I really like this.
I do too.
I like it a lot. I feel like we need to put this card up on our Instagram.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
And other like Facebook and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then we can write a little bit about it and y'all can look at it better.
Yeah, and you can see it.
I like it.
If they haven't already bought the deck.
Yeah, well, you should also do that too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me, explain to me, what is happening?
The why.
Yes.
The why.
It's time for why, though. When we're going to learn what's wrong and why everything's wrong.
What's going on?
Why is it like this?
So true.
Why am I like this?
Why?
Why
I know. It's an important why though, but it's a hopeful why though. So, okay. So
you tell me. I can't wait.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that people are going to agree that like the vibes have been
Yes, they are.
Period. Like vibes have been weird.
That's it.
If you like track back even like our episodes, like track back according to us.
If you can't look at it in your own life, just look at what's been going on with us.
Just look at Dumb Witch Club episodes to like track it.
You'll see the trends. You'll see.
It's ridiculous, but it's true. If you, it is,
amazing.
and I'm sure if you look, you'll see. It's like back to like our it was right around Halloween, like a little bit pre-Halloween. If you look back at those episodes and then sort of the trajectory for it, like things have been just like I don't know, it's off.
Been some vibes.
Yeah, the vibe is just, I'm not sure. And so I don't know, maybe people would disagree and I would like to hear if they do, but I'm attributing that to the Mars retrograde.
Well, that is the time period.
Yes, and I feel like, okay, it's going to matter to certain people more, but I feel like it's a Mars retrograde and Mars is still in Gemini. It's going to be for a while. That part's not changing.
Yeah, a couple more months.
But the Mars in retrograde thing, like it's just, I don't know. That's Mars is where you feel like the energy, the motivation to,
Yes.
And when it's backwards, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like when the tide goes out and it's like pulling all the sand out with it and you're like, where'd the beach go?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of the why though, which has been going on.
And so the hopeful message is what?
That we're going out of that retrograde.
Yes.
Stationing direct.
Yes.
The 12th.
Which is like currently as we speak.
Yes. So it's going, okay, we've mentioned this before. It doesn't happen instantaneously.
Right, exactly.
Because it's a change.
Yes, it's a transition.
Yes. So, and it's not like black and white. Like it takes a while for like the shadow to kind of dissipate and for you to kind of feel the energy coming back. But it is going to start feeling better really soon.
Good. I love that. I think that's very helpful.
Yeah.
And
And it won't be in retrograde for the rest of 2023.
I don't think it'll be in retrograde again for like years. So.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, and it won't be in Gemini again for like many years, like 5 years, whatever that cycle is. So,
exactly.
No offense, but Mars and Gemini, it's been rough.
I know, man. So we've done, that's the why though, but we've done that.
Yay.
So yeah, so that's really good. Mercury is still in retrograde until the 18th. But again, we've talked about this. We're not blaming Mercury for everything. We cannot do that. We will not do that. It happens too often. You just got to write it out. And honestly, this one, we're in Capricorn. So like
Capricorn season. Sun season, yeah.
Yes. So like things are yes, it's in retrograde, but things are still feeling stable.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I really would. I feel like, and obviously individual differences, but in general, I feel like there are some times when certain energies just overshadow others.
Definitely.
And whichever ones those may be can vary individual to individual.
Absolutely.
But for me, I agree with you. I feel like the Capricorn sun energy is very strong.
Yes.
And it's kind of like mitigating some of the annoyances, like maybe of that Mercury retrograde.
And we're getting out of that too. So
yes,
that's happening.
Exactly.
And if you're like still kind of struggling with that, or you need like a tad more guidance on that, we did a Witches with Wine episode on retrograde versus resolutions.
Exactly.
Choose your fighter.
Yes, choose your fighter.
Yeah. So check that out if you need like more info on that, but we kind of covered it. So
definitely. But those still are like the big events that are currently happening that are like really the sort of immediate shifts that are happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
wonderful.
Other than, I'll just mention, people don't focus a lot on like these other moon phases, but I kind of like to mark them. Last quarter moon coming up on the 14th in Libra. So it's a nice reminder, I think, to just like continue to sort through, continue to kind of like reassess, slow down. Remember, as above, so below. So things are coming into place, sorting out, slowing down. Do the same. Just do the same.
Yes. And the moon, as we know, cycles throughout the month, every month. And it really isn't a good opportunity, like to not have to wait until a certain month to, do something. It's kind of like you can do it in these days or next week or whatever it is. So I love that.
Yeah. That's a pretty good why, though. I mean, it explains it, but also gives you some tips.
But I do like that there is some hopefulness there, and I appreciate that.
Because the vibe has not been that.
No, I know. It's been a dreary period.
Yeah.
But I think we're coming out of it.
Dreary, doozy.
Yes, I know. Exactly.
I know. Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Amazing. Private jokes. We'll talk about it later. Okay.
Joke, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah, it's an inside joke, and anyways, I don't know. Okay, so this is actually a perfect transition. For some reason, in my head, it feels like a perfect transition to what we're going to be talking about in this full episode, which is our big witch energy is going to be going to talking about the houses. And so that's why we're calling this episode Dumb Witch Club Cribs. And unfortunately, I feel like we have to explain that cultural reference because people don't know what it is.
Sad.
No, people do know what it is, and I hope you do know what it is. So, okay, let me go back even further.
Oh, okay? Do it. Love it.
So, in the 80s,
there
was this show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Oh, I love this.
And this show was hosted by Robin Leach. And he had this very strong accent. And it would follow, celebrities into their homes or on their vacations and show you the lifestyles of the rich and famous. And it was so I feel like MTV Cribs was an updated version of that.
100%.
And this was from the 90s.
Yeah. 90s,
and
2000s.
It was, late 90s, 2000s. And it featured, pop stars of various caliber at the time.
Yes.
And the crew would go to their house and they would show them their house,
You'd be like, what?
But there was there was this sort of very nonchalant attitude towards it.
Nonchalant.
And so it would be they'd open the door and they'd be like, oh, hey guys, what's up? And then they'd be showing, and my favorite sort of trope of MTV Cribs was,
I love this.
Believe it or not, with the refrigerator.
Yes. That was the best part.
They would open the fridge, just as, my kitchen, and my Viking, my this, my that, And then they'd open the fridge, Sub-Zero fridge, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it would be everything lined up,
Oh,
pristine,
yeah.
color-coded.
Their products.
Brands, their brand stuff, their, you know, whatever. And it's like the premise of the show, I feel like, was supposed to be that they were just popping in on these people.
Yes, that totally was that.
It wasn't like supposed to be this setup.
No.
So it's like that's how their fridge looked all the time.
Right.
Oh, insanity.
It was so good. And like lifestyle, it really was so good. Lifestyles was like very like
It was very posh.
It was very posh. It was like, you know, like Zsa Zsa Gabor and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. Or
Yeah.
like the cast of The Love Boat, you know?
like just like fancy white people.
Yes.
And,
Like,
like,
oh no, but Cribs was like, you had like the rappers
Rappers.
and like the, you know, like pop stars.
yeah, like Britney Spears and like
Yes.
Paris Hilton and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, Paris Hilton. Yeah. So anyways, that's what it is.
And you can watch it. Like it.
You
they
should
have,
watch
like,
it.
Old
It's
MTV shows.
very
on
entertaining.
Maybe Paramount, if like people have Paramount streaming. I think it's Paramount. They show like old stuff. And I know Cribs is on it. Like True Life is on it.
God.
I know.
Oh no. Oh gosh. There's some good episodes of that though.
Yeah, my husband didn't know what that show was at all. I had to show it to him.
I loved that show. I feel like it was almost kind of like, what was the one where the people like had the addictions?
Oh yeah, like the weird addiction one.
Yeah, but also the one where it was like intervention.
Oh yes. Oh
You know?
God, intervention was crazy.
Yes, I know. And I know it's been criticized a lot, and I know it's problematic in certain
it is.
ways, like exploitative, and I know all of that, and so it's not like I watch it now. But
No, but
at the time, it was like, that was reality TV. That was TV, period. So anyways, okay, we are just diverging way too much. But the point is, Dumb Witch Club Cribs episode is here to meet all of your needs. We're going to be talking about the houses. We're going to get into it. We're going to open the fridge. We're going to see what's in there.
I love it.
And then
There's wine in there.
Yeah, definitely going to be some wine.
Cookie dough.
And cookie I know.
I don't know.
And some like, yeah, anyways. Okay, why am I making private jokes in my head and I'm not sharing them out loud?
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know
okay.
today. Anyways.
And eggnog.
Yeah. Ooh, I love eggnog.
I know.
We already talked about
We
this.
did. It's okay. We can talk about it as much as we want.
Okay, so houses.
Okay. Houses.
I feel like this is where it gets very confusing for folks
100%.
when they are learning about astrology.
Absolutely. This is where it starts to break down.
Yes.
Where they're like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. Like, I get it that, you know, I'm whatever, Leo,
Yes.
and that I have other planets in other signs too. And I kind of get how maybe those kind of like mix into
Sure.
like a unique person, you know. But then it's like, what is this house shit? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
I hear it constantly.
Yes.
Constantly. Yeah. This is the point where it starts to get really complicated. And I feel like it's the point at which people give up.
Yeah.
They like stop here and they're like, maybe this is enough, but don't stop.
Yeah,
because it's where it gets good. It's where it gets meaningful, and it's kind of like that meme of like Charlie Day with like all the strings
Yes.
on the diagram.
Yes.
It's where you start to become that person, and you're probably going to annoy people because you're going to be like, oh my God, and it's in this house and in that side.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, what? But then you can help them understand because this is where it gets good. So push through. We're going to help you.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to break it down. This is going to be, again, like a super kind of intro, basic.
Yeah.
You know, we're just putting a couple of pins in the board. We're not, you know,
Charlie
doing
Day.
all the pins. Because there's more, and it continues to build. But the point is, we're going to give you a good, solid foundation to go from today.
Okay, cool.
So starting out, I think I want to, like I already mentioned, you know, planets and signs and houses. And these are kind of the main areas that we talk about in astrology. So I want to tie those together, and I know you have an awesome analogy for that too.
But I want you to,
Yeah, mine's not even an analogy. It's kind of a what, how, where.
Yeah.
So the planets are what? The planets are what the energy is.
Yes.
The energy of the sun, the moon, Mars, Venus, all the ones that we've named. So that's what the energy is and what is happening in the sky. The planets are moving around, right? The signs are how the energy of the planet is expressing itself.
Yes.
So, for example, if I'm a Leo sun, which I am, my sun energy of my identity is expressed through the energy of Leo, which is, you know, creative and leadership and, you know, that type of stuff.
Yes.
So, where is where the houses come in. So the houses, if you do your horoscope, which is your birth chart, all of these planets will be somewhere on your chart. And we'll get into this in a minute more, but your personal sign distribution around the wheel will be different.
Yes.
But anyway, the point is the houses show you where. The houses are 12 areas of life or fields of development or whatever you want to think of them as.
Yeah.
But that show you where the action is happening. So, for example, if I'm a sun in Leo and the sun is in my 5th house in my chart, then I'm going to really be expressing my identity and myself through that leadership and creative energy of Leo in the area of the 5th house, which is like actually creativity and self-expression.
Yes.
So, and it's going to be different for whoever, whichever kind of things you're looking at.
Yes. That's a really...
What, how, where.
Yeah, I love that.
Planets, signs, houses.
What, how, where. That's really good. I love that. Yes. It's the houses are just, and you don't have to memorize them. That's the other thing. I think sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's confusing that there are 12 signs and 12 houses.
Correct.
Sometimes people are like, wait, the 12 signs? And you're like, no, it's the houses. And they're like, but there's 12 of those. Like, it can be confusing.
Aren't they the same thing? And it's like they are related and correlated, but they're not the same thing.
Right. But I also think that it might be kind of helpful. Like, there's 12. There's 12. So, yes. And it's that perfect number 12. There's 12 of them. And these are the 12 areas. And again, you don't have to memorize what they are. They're very easy to look up. So, yeah.
Totally. You can just look up, wheel of houses and you'll give you a little wheel and usually they'll be numbered and they'll have little descriptions in each quadrant of what they're for.
It'll break it all down for you.
But what's your analogy for
my analogy.
The sort of way that houses, signs, and planets kind of work together?
Okay. So the way that I can't take credit for making this up because I've seen this places, right? But I sort of put it together.
But it made sense to you.
Yes, it made sense to me and I kind of adapted it a little bit for the way that I would think about it. Because what I've heard and how I felt about it in the beginning, the confusion that was happening for me was okay, I've got these planets, this is the snapshot of who I am. I get it, right? Okay, all of these planets are part of that and they're in charge of these different things and they're in these signs. Okay, makes sense. I got that first part down. This is what that planet's in charge of sort of in my life-ish.
Right.
And then, or in who I am. And then this is the sign. So that's what's making it act a certain way.
Right.
Got it. Cool. But then when the houses came in, it was okay, but they're also inside a house, but they're in a sign inside of this house. And then the house itself is also in a sign. So what does that mean? And this is usually if people do not quit and they sort of go a little bit further in, that's what I feel gets people tripped up. And it did for me too, so I completely get it. So this is how I kind of think about it. Shakespeare.
The bard, yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, everything can go back to Shakespeare.
Everything does.
Literally. So all the world is stage, all people mainly players, right? So if you think of yourself as that, if you think of sort of your horoscope, your birth chart as that production, it's the production of your life. It's the script of your life. This is you in a production. That's so great.
It's so good. I love it.
I know, I love it too. Obviously, you're the main character energy always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, definitely.
Always. So in that stage production, the planets are the players. They're the actors, right?
Yes.
And then it's pretty much how you explained it. The signs are the roles or characters.
Yes.
I've read it as the costumes, but I don't like that because that, to me, it's almost the way that people describe things as being a mask, and I don't.
Yeah, superficial.
Yeah,
or something.
I don't. It kind of rings that way for me. So I prefer that it's the role.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you take on a role and sometimes you don't have it anymore.
Well, and not only that, but the actor, if that actor is playing this role versus this role, they're going to come out differently, even though the actor is the same actor.
Exactly.
Right?
And they're going to interplay differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, we'll get into later.
Yes.
And then the houses is the setting or the major kind of like plot points along
Yes.
the production in the script.
So where things are happening.
Yes. Like at certain times and in certain realms and with certain areas of like the play, which is your life.
Yes, I love it. I think this starts to make a lot more sense when we think about how they kind of play together, because they're all happening at the same time. And so, okay, no, I think that's really good. So we talked about how there's 12 houses and they're represented on a wheel, just like the zodiac is represented on a wheel.
Right.
The houses travel counterclockwise from, if you imagine like a clock, like the 9 o'clock spot is where the first house starts. And then it goes all the way around to the other side. In 12 quadrants. So this is also where I think it can get super confusing. We're not going to get really into detail on this, but I do want to mention there are different house systems that exist, meaning that there are different ways or theories on how you divide up that 360-degree wheel into these 12 houses. So logically, it's like, okay, well, each house should get 30 degrees.
Right.
And that is how some of the systems, including whole sign and equal houses, treat it. But then there's other systems. If you look up your chart online, you're most often going to get the Placidus house system report. And within that system, because, and again, it's starting to get confusing, but just to sort of clarify a tiny bit, it's based on the Earth's 24-hour cycle around the sun. And so because of that, if you're using like the precise locations of things, you can end up with houses of different sizes. So in that Placidus system, some of the houses can be smaller and some can be bigger and not quite 30 degrees. And because of that, you can have something called intercepted houses, which means there's a house that's entirely contained within one sign. So anyway, it starts to get confusing. And if that's something that you have and you're confused about it, you know, you can like personally look into that, or you can ask us a question, but we're not going to get super into all of that right now. But just to mention that, and I feel like the easiest way to think about it is the equal houses or whole signs system. Which kind of, they function slightly differently, but the gist of it is they just assign one sign to each whole house. And they're each given 30 degrees around the wheel. And what's assigned is based on your time and location of birth, which is your rising sign, determines your first house in your personal chart.
Right. Which is to say, if you want to go to this level of detail, which we highly encourage, you do need to know that. You do need to know your time of birth, and try to be really as accurate as possible. If you don't know, you're just not going to be able to go to this level of detail, unfortunately. So you do need that information.
Yeah, definitely. And so again, for your own personal chart, depending on your time and location of birth, you're going to find out what your rising sign is, and then that would go in your first house. And then it would just go in order around the zodiac wheel from there, you know, until you get back to the end. So if, like, I'm an Aries rising, so my first house is an Aries, and each house, aside from personal horoscope, each house is associated with the sign of the zodiac, starting with the first sign of the zodiac in the first house, which is Aries. So everyone else who's not an Aries rising, you're not going to know necessarily what signs your houses are in.
Exactly.
Unless you memorize it or until you get more familiar with it.
Exactly. But if you plot that first point, you plot your ascendant or your rising.
Just put them in order from there.
Just put them in order from there, and just you just go around and you'll see it, and you can write it down, because, I mean, memorizing it, you know, why do that?
Yeah, I mean, eventually I feel like you kind of memorize it inadvertently just because you start to know it, but you don't need to, like, sit down and memorize it. That's for sure. So, yeah, okay, I think that was confusing enough and maybe potentially clarifying at some point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I mean, you know, look it up, read it, do whatever your learning style, like, do whatever that is to, like, really solidify this. And push past that point of, like, you know, I don't, push past it. You can get it. Like, there are different ways of looking at this. I am not a math person at all, and I've been able to access the information and figure it out.
Yeah, because no one's asking you to do calculations to figure this stuff out. You just, at this point, you get a report.
Exactly.
And you just have to take a look at it, basically. So,
and I think it's really good to do that, because even if you do have an astrologer, and that there's value in that, I have one, who can help you to unpack these things, I think it's really good to try and do it yourself and to really get an understanding of it on your own too.
Yes. And I think it's like anything, any spiritual philosophy, anything, like you can be taught by an expert, a teacher, a scholar, and that's great. But you can also look into it on your own and check it out for yourself.
100%, because who knows you better than you know yourself?
Exactly. So
that
is, okay, so that is all of that. So as I said, each house is associated with a sign. And also because of that, a planet. Like we talked about planets having rulership and signs having rulership with planets. So they kind of share a primary energy and have things in common. So this will sound familiar, and we will be mentioning some things that we've talked about. But we're just going to go through each of the 12 houses, what they mean, what they're associated with, and kind of where in life that house is describing.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
All right,
Wonderful.
Let's go for it.
Perfect.
House number 1, go.
House number 1, self.
Yes. House of self.
House of self.
Yeah,
Identity.
as I said, it's associated with the sign of Aries, because that's the first sign of the zodiac.
Yeah.
And that is about yourself, your identity, that I am energy, who you are sort of within yourself.
Yeah, which sometimes I think people get confused a little bit here, because they're like, wait a second, you told me that was my sun sign. You told me that. You told me that.
So what's the difference?
So the sun sign was my foundational self. So why isn't it? So yes, I mean, yes, all of these things can be true at the same time. That's what's beautiful about this, is that what we're doing here is not like making exceptions. We're adding layers of paint.
Yes.
Like we're just adding color. We're just adding it. Those things can be true. Yes, your sun sign is your foundational self, but your first house is it's also associated with that. It's what you show out to people.
Yes.
It sort of is the thing that sheds light and a certain energy on the rest of everything else, because it's the catalyst, it's the initiating part of your zodiacal wheel.
Exactly. Ooh, zodiacal.
Zodiacal.
That sounded so cool. Yeah, I love that. No, you're absolutely right. And I think, and this is where you start to see if your sun and rising are the same. So if your sun is in your rising sign, they share it.
Yeah.
And that therefore it's in your first house. You're going to maybe have a lot more consistency between how you express yourself outwardly. You express your inward self outwardly. And most people don't have that, the case.
No.
Just, numerically, like the odds or whatever. So there are going to be differences with how you present yourself versus who you are yourself inside.
Yes, exactly.
And that rising sign, that first house, yes, it's about who you are, but it's really more about how you present outwardly.
Exactly.
And how other people see you expressing the energy that you have.
Yeah, and it's sort of like the way you're living. Like back to the explanation or the analogy that I made with the play and sort of like the script of your life and everything. It's like the way you're living that out. It's how they see you acting out.
Well, it's almost like if there's like a movie or a play where like an actor is playing themselves.
Yeah.
It's not literally them like sitting in their backyard like doing nothing. They're still playing that role, but they're doing it's more of a consistency.
Yes.
Of that.
Precisely.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
And then I feel like when we think about the first house and we keep your play analogy, this is kind of like the one-person show.
Yeah.
It's like this is who you are. It's just your show. You're putting on the show.
It's the Carol Burnett of
Carol Burnett hour.
Which, again, we would have to explain, but we're not going to.
Too much. Google it, people. Google her. She's amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay, so that's the first house associated with Aries, also associated with Mars because Mars is the ruler of Aries.
It's also, and we won't go into detail on this, but just so that people know if they want to look further, it's the first of, there's 4 angles that are really important in the houses.
Don't start.
It's just the first one of that.
Stop.
That's all you need to know.
We'll talk about that in a different episode.
Yes.
It's not scary.
It's not at all. It's simple, but
yes,
it's an important one.
Definitely. Okay, so the second house is the house of resources, and it is associated with Taurus.
Yeah.
And therefore Venus. It is about your connection to the physical and material world.
Yeah.
Which includes your own physical body.
Yeah.
So we're kind of thinking concentric circles, like the first house is yourself, your identity inside. The second house is kind of the next layer out. It's your physical body and how you're kind of connecting with objects and material things in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what you have and, how you feel about that and how you feel about yourself and your self-worth and all that.
Yes. And so it can be like possessions, it can be money, it can be that type of material stuff, or it can literally just be how you relate to the physical world around you, you know, and your physical body in the world.
Physical body, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
great way to put it.
Yes, exactly. All right. The third house.
Third house.
Yeah.
Communication.
House of communication.
Yeah. Communication. It's how we think. It's how we process. How we express those processes outward to other people.
Yes.
How we message things and how best we receive being messaged. Ideas.
Yes, and this third house is associated with Gemini and with Mercury. So if you go back to our Planet Schmanet Janet episode where we talk about Mercury, it's that same kind of energy. And we haven't yet gotten to fully flesh out Gemini, which, in our New Sign Who Dis series, but we will be doing that too. But yeah, it's that air sign, that intellect, that communicating out, learning how you take in and give out information.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting, like gossip and text messaging are covered.
Oh, text messaging. That's great.
Just so you know.
That's great. Literally text messaging.
Yeah. Also,
DMing?
MTV Cribs. I'm not sure. DMing.
Sneaky link?
Yeah. Ooh, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Seems like, well, maybe if it's in your 8th house.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if Mercury's in your 8th house. Anyway, we're getting confused.
Everyone's like, what?
I know. They're like, I thought we were talking about the 3rd house.
They're like, you weren't going to get complicated.
I know.
And now
sorry.
you are. Sorry.
I know.
No, we're not. We're not going to.
No. We're not. We're totally fine. We're super on course here.
Good.
It's so funny that in the House of Communication part of this discussion, we just went off.
I know.
Saying all kinds of stuff that is irrelevant that we don't mean.
Mercury's in retrograde.
And Mercury's in retrograde.
So, its fault, not ours.
I know.
Clearly, that's what we're doing here, is just trying to blame everything else.
I know. That's our favorite thing about astrology. Is you can blame it for any mistake you make, anything that goes wrong.
It's not you.
Any problem that you're having, any
Never
relationship.
you.
Yeah, any way someo's acting towards you.
It's always his fault.
Yes, always.
It's
always.
never you.
It's never you.
No. If you're femme identifying and watching this, it's never you.
Yeah, precisely. Okay. I love it.
So do I.
Next.
Fourth house.
Fourth house. The house of the home.
Yeah.
Which I think sounds interesting. The house of the home.
House of the home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is. And I think home can mean your proper living quarters, like your domicile.
Yeah.
But your home is also yourself.
Yeah.
And sort of your private life within
it is a private
yourself.
one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's about how you nurture yourself.
Yes.
Self-care. The
Yes.
other thing I love about this house is the lineage and ancestry aspect
correct.
of it too, which is clearly important to me, and like they've heard me mention it millions of times. So yeah, very important to me. Yeah, and it's an important one too.
Yeah, and so the 4th house, just again following the zodiac wheel, is associated with Cancer and therefore the moon.
Yeah,
and those kind of primary energies are shared by those different in those spaces.
Yeah, love the 4th house.
Yeah, I have quite a few planets in the 4th house.
So do I.
And the 5th house.
So do I.
So, I know.
Most.
Yeah, almost all of mine too. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyhow, the 5th house is the house of self-expression and creativity. So, it's associated with Leo and the sun, which we kind of already mentioned inadvertently.
Yeah.
I also want to point out, and I don't think I pointed out here, but I may have pointed out in a different episode, both the zodiac wheel and the wheel of the houses can kind of be understood along like a lifespan timeline as well.
Yes.
So Aries and the first house, kind of that birth, kind of very, kind of self.
Me.
Yes, yeah. And I just got here and like I'm here, type of energy.
Sure.
So if you keep going around, we're kind of getting, to the early middle of that. And the fifth house really can be associated, and I think this helps explain the energy, as like kind of an early teenager who's kind of trying to figure out who they are, figure out their identity, how to express themselves, and maybe looking at lots of different sort of creative ways of doing that.
It's not a phase, Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe it is though.
Maybe it
so
is.
yeah, and it's about joy and hobbies and sort of that fun and play and not really bogged down by responsibility yet.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
And the arts and music,
Yes.
and that's like a key one for me particularly. So
yeah. Definitely. So yeah, fifth house is interesting. It's kind of a fun one.
it is. It's a fun one. Sometimes they call it that, like it's the fun house.
The fun house.
Not like a scary wavy mirror clown.
I almost would have liked that better because I feel like
you want a wavy mirror clown fun house.
yeah. Well, maybe not the clowns as much. Not as much the clowns. But I like those things where you go in and there's like mirrors and they don't exist in real life. They're only in like weird, scary shows.
I get really claustrophobic about
I know
that.
you hate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, if you went with me.
I know, but I wouldn't take you there.
Well, and not if there's clowns.
No, clowns. I don't know. They get weird. I know.
We're not going to do an episode about clowns.
No, we're not. I promise.
I don't want to. Okay, moving on from the fifth house. It's scary now.
Okay. So now we're coming to the sixth house, which is the house of service and health.
Yeah.
So, oof, man, I just feel like that transition from Leo energy to Virgo energy, it is just such a drop off. No offense to Virgos also, like as usual, no offense to anyone.
of course
but
not.
It is just such a drastic change.
Yeah, this one's hard for me. This one's hard for me. Yeah. It's I have a lot of crazy things going on here, and it's about like physical health and like mental health and spiritual, and it's a lot. It's a heavy one.
But it's also about service.
It's also about service.
Your need to be useful
Yes, it
and
is.
to serve others and to sort of be, just productive in like a daily kind of way.
Definitely. Yes, like the work habits and ethic and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Routine.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, which...
It's not the funnest. We passed over the fun house.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, ooh, and maybe at some point, not today. So many things we're mentioning that we're like, we're not talking about this today. But cusps. We got to talk about cusps at some point.
We do.
But I feel like that Leo-Virgo cusp, oof, it is just a rough time.
It's a crazy one.
Yeah, it is. So anyways, sixth house, house of service and health, all of that kind of stuff. Associated with Virgo, as I said, also with Mercury, therefore, and with Vesta, which we didn't talk about Vesta, but it's sort of a newer asteroid and really is about sort of home and service and health. Not home exactly in the way that like Cancer nurturing house, but it's kind of about, how you create that family structure in your life.
Yeah, exactly. That like community or whatever of your own.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So now we've finished the first half.
Yeah.
And all of those 6 houses are and that's like the bottom half of the clock, So if you like folded it in half, we've kind of gone through the bottom. And well, I know, and I feel like I'm doing this if your it goes this way, from your point of view.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
Counterclockwise. But all of those are very much about your personal self.
Personal houses.
Yes. And then as we kind of cross over that horizon into the 7th house, we start to expand to partnering and upping the levels of that. Yeah. Right?
Interpersonal house.
Yes, exactly. So what is the 7th house?
Relationships.
Yes.
Close, intimate relationships.
The house of relationships and marriage, partnerships, what you attract and are attracted to in terms of people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
specifically.
It's, yeah. And I think, you know, traditionally it was thought of very much as like, oh, it's the romance house. And like, am I going to get married? And like, when? And like, okay, we're past that. Like, it's not all about that. It can be about that, but it's not all about that. It's significant relationship. It can be even about like enemies. It can be about twin flames. It can be about all of that stuff. Anything that's like significant, and that's not always good, right? We've talked about that. Like, it's significant because it's growing you as a person, but...
Yes. You can have very close ties with someone that you don't have a good relationship with.
100%.
And that can affect you a lot.
Yeah. So, but this house tends to reveal a lot.
Yes. I think the other reason for that is because it is opposite of your ascendant.
Yep.
And so it's called the descendant, and has been sort of, and this kind of goes off into like another episode that we'll do, but it kind of, it's been thought of as your disowned self, or parts or aspects of yourself that are sort of opposite of the energy of that kind of front-facing self. And it can be things that you don't like about yourself, or that you struggle with yourself. And that because it's also that house of relationship, that you may find yourself encountering in other people.
Yeah, or constantly attracting.
Yeah,
or
and
engaging
like,
with.
Obviously, that comes back to like healing and accepting all parts of yourself, so that you don't have as many issues with other people who are, you know, maybe just being themselves, right?
True.
But anyway, so that kind of gets into that. The seventh house is associated with Libra, and because of that, also Venus, because Venus rules Taurus and Libra.
Yep. Seventh house. Okay.
What else do you want to say about that? Do you have more?
Nope, I don't have more right now.
You sound like you swallowed a frog.
I did.
You're like, no, I don't want to talk about
No, I know, I can't. No. We will move on from that.
Okay.
I mean, we could say so much more about all of this, but...
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah. Eighth house, just, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's jump right into the eighth house.
I know,
That's
right?
a lovely place to go.
Soft landing at the eighth house.
Yes.
Let's talk about the haunted, spooky house. Here we are.
So the eighth house is the house of intimacy and death. So there are several houses that are actually about relationship, and they kind of increase in depth as we go. So like the seventh house we just talked about is about relationship, but it's, and I wouldn't say it's a super surface level, but it's kind of just about like these interactions.
Yes.
Where the eighth house is about deep spiritual connectedness and intimate bonding like that, right?
Yeah, and like who you are within the collective, and like and like the mystery of that, and like mysteries about mysteries, the occult, like sex, transformation.
Yes. Well, and it's that Scorpio energy. It's the eighth, you know, the eighth sign, the eighth house.
Yeah.
And Pluto, like we've talked about,
Yeah.
you know, sort of the very deep, dark energy of that planet, too.
People are, like, afraid of this house. Like, it's a joke. Like, people, like, talk about it like, oh, don't have any planets in it, or whatever, because, oh, that means it doesn't. It's, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of Scorpios. Don't be afraid.
Nothing means anything.
No.
Like, just by itself. You can't just take one planet or placement or house or what's in that house in isolation and be like, ooh, that's bad.
No, and you can't fortune tell. Like that's not a thing.
No.
You're not doing that. You're not going, oh, well, if that's there, then no. There's, you know, everything is constantly shifting because we're always making decisions.
I know. And like, so like we will joke like as we have that like, oh yeah, you can like blame astrology for everything, and you can see that and be like, that's why they're this way. But like really, truly, we don't believe that. And you can't really do that. That's kind of a misuse of astrology.
It is. It's making everything very surface level, and that's not what we want to do. We want it to be a multifaceted part of who you are as a multifaceted person. So yeah, don't be afraid of these things. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's not a bad house or anything. It's actually a really beautiful, transformative, like interesting house. You might have planets in it. That's amazing. Even if you don't, like, you know, that's still look at what sign it's in, because that'll give you a lot of insight into those things.
I feel like the people who are maybe saying these, like, scary negative things, I wonder what house or what sign their 8th house is in. Because, like, you seem really scared of intimacy and death if you're talking about how you're scared of intimacy and death.
Or they're trying to make everybody else scared of it.
But it's like, anyways, it's just sort of
clickbait.
Yeah, I know. Which we do not subscribe to that.
No clickbait.
No, not at all.
So that's the 8th.
All right, that's the 8th. The 9th house, the house of the higher self.
I like the 9th house.
Yeah,
I don't like all of them, but I like the 9th house.
Yeah.
The 9th house, it's like philosophy and not high-minded thinking as in like snobby, like higher plane.
Yeah. And it's associated with Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Our little good old friend, and our little good old friend Jupiter.
Yes. Yeah. Just expansive, right? Like,
yes.
Expansive ideas. Think of Sagittarians. We had that conversation.
Yes.
Or if you haven't seen
watch
it, watch
the episodes. See
Yeah.
more about that.
They want to experience and travel and
and like think about, you know, different people and different lives and different cultures and philosophy and broader viewpoints. So again, kind of expanding out from yourself and continuing to expand out into thinking even more collectively.
I wrote it's the Eat, Pray, Love house.
Yes.
So I really feel like it is.
Yeah. No,
right?
You're right. It is.
Yeah.
Definitely
like,
is.
By the time she gets to that, like, that it's the Eat, Pray, Love. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So no, and again, expanding out even a little more. The 10th house is the public self. And it is that sometimes called midheaven.
Midheaven, yeah.
If you've ever seen that, like when you're looking at your chart, that's what that is. That 10th house starts your midheaven. And that's the house of, again, like public self. It's about sort of who you intentionally present as in the world through typically something like your career or having an effect on the larger
like
community collective.
What you do in like your activism, your life's work, which isn't maybe necessarily your profession. It could be, but it might not be. It just your life's work, what you dedicate yourself to, what you're passionate about. How like the legacy that you leave behind. It's like who you are, like back to like the stage thing. This is like almost like who you are on the world stage.
Yes, exactly. And meaning, public identity, like your duty, but like your sense of duty to yourself and your world.
Yes.
And I think it's also interesting, integrity gets pulled in here, sort of that need to be a self in the world that is also a reflection of who you are and that is tied to that isn't just kind of for the sake of being some way, you know? And I think that's where you really fulfill that calling the best way.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing how, like, even just talking about it, like, it gets deeper. Like our conversations even get like more layered and like deeper about these things because it really does get that way.
Yes.
Get that way.
We're getting so deep. We totally get that way.
It's a terrible way to, I don't know what phrase that was. Please ignore that.
It's good. That's why we're always dumb witches. No matter how smart we might sound, we're always dumb witches.
Love that I was talking about the 10th house and that's how I said it.
I know.
Great.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Have to look at my 10th house. What's going on in there?
I feel like we're like heavily channeling each energy as we're talking.
I know.
Like it's like yeah. But also like in these weird like backwards opposite ways too.
Retrograde.
Retrograde. Oh God. Okay. Things cannot get silly in the 10th house. Like you know this. Stop.
Sorry. We're moving out of it.
Yeah, because this one's even lighter. We
did it on the way out. I know. It's not getting better.
Okay, so house 11.
House 11.
Is the house of community.
Yeah.
And we're talking about broad community. Groups that you might participate in, that you might be a part of, you might identify with.
Yeah.
It's about, keep going.
Yeah, it's like it's our humanitarian house.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, who are we as a human and like how do we contribute and relate to other humans and like make their existence a certain way.
Yeah, and kind of like what can we contribute to the betterment of that?
Yeah, like social justice and all that kind of thing.
Yes, it's also about understanding, I think, and identifying the uniqueness of the contributions that you can make to the world.
Yes.
And that ties into that Aquarian kind of Uranus energy. So recognizing that you do have something to contribute to the community and the world and like humanity at large.
I love that like aspect of like Aquarian energy. It's lovely, like, you know, just like love and like friends and like we can do it and like dreaming, but like really doing. Yes,
it's also about sort of like future dreams, discoveries, kind of like progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like an not an inventor. Like
but it's kind of, it's that type of energy, I feel like.
Yeah. Like a Walt Disney. Let's ignore the other parts. You know what I'm talking about?
Just the like imaginative
Don't
kind of.
cancel me because I said Walt Disney. I get it. It's problematic. But the other things is what I mean.
Yes. No.
Pioneer.
Yes.
Spirit.
Yes, exactly.
Is pioneer even allowed to be? Is that not a word?
Well, you're not using it as a proper noun.
No,
you're using it just as actually a verb. A verb. Like
pioneering spirit.
Yeah,
or it's like right?
Yeah, it's like an adjective.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's kind of a verb too, because it's like you're doing pioneering.
Is that an adverb? No, because not in that phrase.
Yeah, no.
Okay, no, we're not having.
Anyway, it wasn't a proper noun. That's all.
It's not a proper noun.
Didn't start with a capital.
Sorry for mentioning Walt Disney.
Oh my gosh, never again. Never again.
Unsubscribe. Please don't. That would be sad.
We can edit it out, but now we can't because we talked about it too much.
No, we can't. Our producer's like, nope, we're keeping that.
Yeah, it's like, you guys.
He likes things like that.
Yeah, loves.
Really does.
True. I know. So contrarian.
I know.
Okay, all right, let's go. Finally, we have arrived at the 12th house.
We've arrived. I love that. We went on a journey. I really feel like we did.
This was I don't know.
I didn't expect this.
No.
I was like, okay, we'll just, give them and now we're like, ugh.
Your gestures today are so good.
I know, I don't know.
You're just like embodying everything today.
I am. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe because I felt so like sick and just like, like that. I don't know.
And now it's all being unleashed.
Yeah, it is.
I know.
Unleashed.
Yes.
Unleashed.
I love it.
I love it too.
Okay, I also feel like, once again, like we're getting silly, and this is not silly.
No.
Like the 12th house is like so damn deep. Like I can't even. Like I had to use my actual voice too. Whew,
yeah.
Okay, this is water. Like I swear it is water. I feel like we're
final countdown.
Oh, you actually sang it too.
That was not really singing.
I know, but it was melodic.
It was melodic, in sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The 12th house is the house of the unconscious.
Yeah. It's like the 8th, but like not the.
But like on steroids.
Totally, and like not underneath. It's like.
Yes.
All around or something.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I've heard it also being likened to like amniotic fluid.
Oh my God.
Which is, it's like the unconscious in the sense of it's like before you even were born. Whoa. And what you will return to after you leave like this physical body.
That's almost too much.
I know. I'm saying it and I'm like, what am I talking about?
It reminds me of that thing, which I know you have to know, because I mean you've bore children into the world.
I have. I did that. Yes.
You have progeny. Sorry. You've done this, so I know you have to know this, and this won't be sharing anything new with you. But I thought it was crazy when I read it. It was like something about, and like correct me if I'm getting it wrong, but it's like you had all the eggs that you, if you're like a biological female. You had all the eggs that you would ever have or something, like when you were in utero.
Correct.
In your mom. So, so if you like think about it like that, then like you were like part of your grandmother or something like that.
Yes, like the Because my children are girls.
Yes.
So,
okay.
like, when I was pregnant with my daughter.
Yes.
And she was developing a little fetus in there.
Yeah.
The eggs that would be my potential grandchild, should I have one,
yeah.
were also
inside.
there.
That's it.
Correct.
That's the thing. What the heck?
I know. It's wild.
It's wild.
And you're right. It's the same if you go upwards,
If
like,
you-
to
yeah.
your mother and your grandmother. Or
Yeah, like, which is what I had to do because I have not
Yeah.
produced loin product.
Yes. No, but yes, that is correct. And it is mind-blowing.
It is. It's super mind-blowing. That's the kind of thing that, like, I can't think about it.
I do feel like that is 12th house stuff.
Yeah, it is 12th house stuff. It is
Because
12th
it's
house
like
stuff.
how life exists even when it is not in existence in the way physically that we can understand it.
Damn.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, we've gone way past MTV Cribs.
I know. From MTV. We need to do one of those memes of like how it started and where it's like MTV Cribs and then it's like amniotic fluid and like collective unconscious.
Yes, and we said we weren't going to be like Charlie Day with that meme, and we Charlie Day'd the heck out of this topic, man.
I know, we did. But so, okay, the House of the Unconscious is associated with Pisces and Neptune. Yeah, it's very deep. So that is where you end up if you go all the way on this journey around the wheel of the houses. We definitely are going to have more episodes talking about, I think we're going to talk about like different combinations. We're going to talk more about kind of the big three and how those work into different, anyway, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
But for now,
I'm exhausted.
I think we've done enough.
I think so too. I think it's a lot for everybody to process, but it's certainly like something for me to process right now too.
I know. Like,
yeah.
we do this every time.
I know, and yet we're still surprised by it. Hashtag
Dumb Witch Club.
totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. But there's no one I'd rather do it with than you.
Of course.
So, that being said,
Until
next time,
stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and produced by us, Ashley Sidner.
And Jackie Gerard at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Creative Director and Culture Consultant, Violet Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. And look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.